Residents and voters in Londonderry will be returning to the Town Hall in South Londonderry for its town meeting on Tuesday, March 7th. It will be the first time since 2020 that they will be able to gather there. Because of the pandemic, the last two town meetings have been held outside, in Pingree Park in 2021 and outside the historic Town Hall in 2022. Londonderry conducts its town meetings in the traditional vote off the floor way, and this year residents will have several articles on the warning to discuss and debate before voting on them. In addition to approving a proposed town budget of about $2.2 million, a roughly 6% increase over last year, but one whose property tax impact will be lessened by other revenues, there will be a proposal to implement a 1% local option tax on rooms, the purchase of a new fire truck, and approving a new multi-town recreation district and financing the position of the Mountain Towns Recreational Director. We'll have more on that shortly. Voters will also be asked, in a technically separate meeting, to approve a $1.3 million bond for improvements to the town office. An informational meeting about this will be held on Monday, February 27th, at 6 p.m. at the town office in South Londonderry, but the voting will be held on Tuesday, March 7th. We met up with Town Administrator Shane O'Keefe, Select Board Chairman Tom Cavanaugh, and Town Treasurer Tina LeBeau to discuss this year's town meeting warning.
What are the bottom line differences between this year and last year? Is it increasing slightly? Is that what we're looking at?
Increasing slightly, yes.
Yeah, about 6%.
Okay. Is that historically about average, or?
Not really, because from the prior year we actually went down a little bit. So, but we did budget salaries at the federal cost of living.
Okay. So what is the grand total bottom line?
It's $2,217,359.
Okay. So what would be the tax impact of that then? Is it would it wind up being roughly a small increase, or?
It'll probably be a small increase of 1 or 2 cents maybe on the tax rate.
Okay.
Not significant, because you have some offsetting revenues.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, you passed the local option tax last year. That's already?
No, we did not.
We did
No,
not.
we did not pass it last year.
Okay. So that's on the warning this year for 1% for rooms.
For rooms only.
Yes.
And part of that has to do with the number of short-term rentals in the community, which has been increasing. And so part of the thought is that with that increase in number of short terms, that we just use an opportunity to help some of these businesses further contribute to the town.
You decided not to do it on sales or
we tried
meals?
we tried that in the past and didn't go particularly well, and that's fine. But again, because of the number of short-term rentals, which are over 200 in Londonderry alone, there is an opportunity. And in fact, rooms receipts last fiscal year was $1.5 million, and so after the state would take its cut, we'd end up with a little over $10,000 just based upon that. But it seems to be an increasing trend.
Is a lot of that like Airbnb?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying, the big ticket item in the budget seems to be a purchase of a fire truck. Is that because it needs to be replaced? One of the ones that's
It does.
now used up its useful service?
Yes, Londonderry Fire Department, Phoenix Fire Department, they need a new truck. I think they said theirs was in the 90s right now. So
1997.
97.
No, I think it was even.
Yeah, I think it was 90.
It's an old
95.
machine.
Yeah, we increased the highway budget in a couple places, primarily sand and salt, because last year we were way under on sand.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also increasing the paving budget, but that'll be voted for in the article.
Yeah, we have a separate article that you have each year for it's a reserve fund for roads. And what we did a couple of years ago is we hired an engineer to work with us on a capital plan for paved roads. And in keeping with that, we're increasing the amount by $40,000 this year. And it is trying to get up to where we really need to be based upon the condition of the roads and the cost of improving them, and even just keeping them in the condition they're in now. So we fell way behind over the past years.
Yes,
Diesel
yeah.
fuel, parts for the trucks, everything is increased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have $20,000 allocated to engineering costs related to the Williams Dam. That's a project that's been discussed for the past couple of years, and it's kind of an opportunity for those in the community who want to continue to do research on different options. It's an opportunity for that continuation of that work and to allocate funding to do it.
And you want to make some improvements to the town office building as well.
Yeah, we have a bond vote. And it's not in the regular town meeting warning. It's a special town meeting that happens at the same time, and that's the way you need to do that because of some of the notice requirements for a bond. But we are looking at $1.3 million bond to renovate this building. And it really, if you took a look downstairs, you'll know exactly why it has to, and the paint job on the outside. It's also, it's several things. We have been growing over the years, so it's a little additional office space, but it's also to create space for emergency operations center. We are the EOC for the community, but there are no facilities for the EOC. I mean, this would have a meeting room. It would have, for instances where there might be an extended emergency operation, they'd be able to be here for a number of days, things like that. One other thing, there is Australian ballot vote. Article number 1 is to authorize the select board to appoint the constable. Under state law, it's an elected position, but nobody ever runs for it, and the select board ends up appointing it anyway. And the feeling was, let's just get it out of the way, have the voters authorize the select board to make that appointment. And it makes life a lot easier.
The position of the Recreation Director is another item on the agenda for town meeting. If passed in its entirety, it would create a 5-town consortium that would include Londonderry, Winhall, Weston, Peru, and Landgrove, and would enable the 5 towns to pay for the position of a Recreation Director. Sarah Kiefer, a former president and currently one of the members of the Floodbrook Athletic Association, a nonprofit volunteer organization, walked us through what was involved in this proposal up at Pingree Park in Londonderry.
So we have realized in the last few years that the combined population of the towns of Londonderry, Peru, Weston, Landgrove, and Winhall have a similar population to other towns that support rec director positions. So what we have found that we need locally is a person who is responsible for administrating some of the programs that we already run. But then what we also believe is that there's an opportunity for increased programming. So really reaching out for increased recreational opportunities for the residents of all ages, not just focused on the kids of the community, which would be a big part of the position, but looking to do some things that our fellow nearby towns do. So festivals or carnivals, or picking up some increased things for adults like pickleball leagues. We have an unmet need of swim lessons in town. There's no place locally to do that around here. So we're looking to support the programming that's already in place, that's being run by volunteer organizations, but then also expand programming for residents of all ages. What we're asking voters to do is to support the salary and benefits for a full-time Mountain Towns Recreation Director position. So the way that we are looking at this is one of the responsibilities of that director would be the management of Londonderry town parks. So Londonderry is being asked to absorb 20% of the position, the total funding, to account for the time that would be directed specifically toward towards the town parks in the town of Londonderry. The remaining 80% of the cost of the position would be funded by the surrounding towns, and we put out proposals for a percentage based on the census population to make that equitable for each of the towns that we've asked to participate. The next step really would be if the towns agree to fund this, or whichever towns do agree to fund this, our next step would be to develop an advisory council that would have representation from each of the sending towns, but also representation from the Parks Board, the Floodbrook Athletic Association, the West River Sports Organization. And the task of the advisory council between the months of March and July 1 of 2023 would be to really flush out what the needs are of the communities, set short and long-term goals, and fully flush out a job description. At that point, what we're hoping is when the funds become available July 1st, that we'll be able to hire somebody and they would be able to hit the ground running.
If passed, the position of the new Recreation Director would be based in the Londonderry Town Hall. Voters in Londonderry will also elect 2 Select Board members, a Town Clerk, a Town Treasurer, and fill several other municipal offices. The town meeting will begin at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 7th, but the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.